In this unit circle survival guide, we'll find the exact value for cotangent of negative 2 pi over 3, and we're going to use the SARC method. So SARC is just an acronym to help you keep all of your steps organized. There are sometimes a lot of components when finding an exact value, and so this outline will make sure that you can solve your exact value accurately. All right, so quick overview before we start. The S stands for sketch the angle, so we'll sketch the angle's terminal side. A is for A.S.T.C, another quick little acronym. This will tell you which trig functions are positive in each quadrant so that you can know if your final answer for your exact value should be positive or negative. Determining the sign early really just eliminates a possibility of a sign error and thus an inaccurate answer. R stands for reference triangle, so we'll find the reference angle and then the special right triangle and coordinates that go with it. And then C is for calculate, so we'll calculate the trig ratio that we want. And remember, we're finding the cotangent of negative 2 pi over 3. So let's go ahead and begin. First, we're going to sketch the angle's terminal side. Notice that our angle is negative, and so we're going to be rotating in the clockwise direction. So I like to label my diagram. Here's 0. We know a half rotation would be negative pi, and it may help you to place your angle's terminal side if you rewrite negative pi so that it has a common denominator with your angle. So negative 3 pi, let me rewrite that a little bit neater. Negative 3 pi over 3 is the same thing as negative pi. And that should help you see that you can break this half rotation into 3 pieces. So here would be negative 1 pi over 3. And here in the third quadrant is negative 2 pi over 3. So we know our angle's terminal side is in quadrant 3. And now that we know this, we're ready for step 2, A.S.T.C. Think of the phrase, all students take classes. That'll help you remember this little trick to recalling which trig functions are positive in each quadrant. So work your way around from quadrant 1. We label all students take classes, A.S.T.C. And this tells us that all our trig functions are positive in the first quadrant. The S in quadrant 2 tells us only sine and its reciprocal cosecant are positive in quadrant 2. All the others are negative. In quadrant 3, which is where we are for this particular angle, we know that tangent and its reciprocal cotangent are going to be positive. So we can go ahead and mark that in our notes. Our final answer, this exact value, is going to be positive. And I like to just go ahead and put a plus sign here too. That helps me know I did consider this. I know my final answer will be positive, and I can work with simply positive values, or quadrant 1 values as I like to call them, from here on out, and we know there will be no sign errors. Before we move on, if you do have a terminal side of an angle in quadrant 4, you can see the C tells us that cosine and its reciprocal secant are the only positive ones there. All right, now for step 3, we want to find our reference triangle. So to do that, we need to find our reference angle, which is just our rotation from our terminal side to the x-axis. So that's this angle here. And because of how we labeled our diagram, we know that that rotation from negative 2 pi over 3 to negative 3 pi over 3 must just be a rotation of pi over 3. We always put our reference angles as positive. Okay, just a measure of the amount of rotation or distance traveled, if you will. That's why it's positive. So pi over 3 is the same thing as 60 degrees. And we're moving to degrees because that's how we normally talk about our special right triangles. If you do need a review of special right triangles, I will post a link to a playlist on Unit Circle Basics, and there are several videos that you can find there that review special right triangles and their properties and how they relate to the unit circle. All right, so I've drawn in here central angle of 60, so it's a 60, 30, 90 triangle here. The coordinates that pair with this special right triangle on the unit circle are 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. And I remember which is which. Look at the triangle. You see that the shorter leg is horizontal, so 1/2 is smaller than the square root of 3 over 2. So the x coordinate's 1/2, and then the longer leg gives the y coordinate, square root of 3 over 2. And now we're ready to calculate. So we know that to find the cotangent of an angle on the unit circle, we simply need to calculate x divided by y. Remember, we already decided our final answer is positive from step 2. And so we're just using these coordinates from quadrant 1. So we have 1/2. If we're dividing by square root of 3 over 2, if we're dividing by a fraction, let's go ahead and just multiply by the reciprocal. So that's the same thing as multiplying by 2 over square root of 3. You see you can cross cancel that common factor of 2 there, reduces, and we're left with 1 over square root of 3, which of course you want to rationalize. So to do that quickly, multiply by root 3 over root 3, and you see that your value will end up being square root of 3 over 3. Eventually you'll know that 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2 is the square root of 3 over 3, but you can always fall back on this calculation of x divided by y. All right, so recalling that we got our positive final value from step 2, we know that the cotangent of negative 2 pi over 3 is going to be positive square root 3 over 3. Be sure to check the video description. I'll post a link to more worked examples for exact values using the SARC method. And keep on practicing. The more you practice with your exact values, the better you will get and the quicker you will get. But it's always most important to be accurate. Thanks for watching.